Hey everybody, this is Pete Blank here with the Personnel Board of Jefferson County Training Department. Glad to have you along with us. If you're watching this video, it's because you're either registered for a virtual training through the Personnel Board or you're thinking about registering for training virtually here through the Personnel Board. So we're going to try to make this as quick and painless as possible, but I do got some great information that I do want to share with you today that'll help you as you prepare for your first ever time taking a virtual training class here through the Personnel Board of Jefferson County. As I go ahead and advance my slides here, I want to make a couple of notes. If you go to the very top as you're watching this, you might be able to adjust the screen size, perhaps, of myself. I'm not sure if you can do that or not because this is a recording, but you might be able to perhaps do that. So if not, I'm small in the corner and you're just watching this as we go. So a couple of things I want to share with you. Look at the right-hand side. Here's the agenda of what I'm going to cover for the next few minutes. If you think you know some of this or just want to scroll back and forth to see certain parts, you can do that as well. So feel free to move forward and backward on the timeline of the recording if you don't want to watch the entire thing, and just look for these screens that'll tell you what part we're coming up at. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover how to register for a Personnel Board training class. We're going to cover the expectations of these new virtual learnings. I want to talk about the location of where you're going to be taking the training program. Also, what equipment do you need? Also, do you have access to Zoom? Zoom is the platform we're going to be using, so you want to make sure you have access to that, whether at work or at home. Finally, how do you use Zoom? And then what other resources do you need before you attend one of our courses? So this is just to prepare you so that the first time you come to one of our virtual training courses, you're not thrown off and I can't get my stuff to work, and then you have to bail out of the course and re-sign up again in the future. We're recording this in very late June, early July. So we're planning on having all of our courses in July virtually. It's quite possible as we move forward, depending on what happens with the COVID pandemic, we might offer more of these as we go forward. We'll just have to wait and see. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Pete, how do I register? How do I even register? Well, you register the same as you would for any other training course. You go to meritmatters.org. You'll see the website there. You have to have your employee number, last four of your social, your last name, and a password. If you're not sure or you have trouble logging in or haven't signed up for a training class in a while, just click the bottom there where it says click here, and we can take care of that and help you out the best that we possibly can. So a couple things I want to make you aware of. Once you log in at Merit Matters, you'll see this. You'll see this screen. And you might think, oh, virtual training, that's what we want. These are virtual training classes. Well, that's not the right place to go. You could click there, but if you click there, what you're going to get is our informational sheet about virtual instructor-led training. And great stuff here. You might want to print it out, keep it. Our July calendar is on there, but that's not where you're going to go to actually register for the course. Perhaps you look up and you see our webinars tab. You're like, oh, webinars, that's what they're offering, so I'll go ahead and click there. Again, a good choice. And we have plenty of recorded webinars, probably over 20 now, of different things that we've done over this past few months or even over the past year. The times are listed here. So some are 20 minutes, some are 15 minutes, some are 10 minutes. Go through there and see if a topic interests you. You can watch that at any time throughout your workday. But that's not how you register for a course. You'll register for one of our training courses just like you always do by clicking on Class List. And when you click on Class List, it looks exactly like it always has. The only exception, let me get my annotator up here. Let me get my little, what is it, spotlight. There we go. So you'll see right down here, it says virtual. Virtual. So if it says virtual in front of the class title, it's going to be virtual. We don't have any instructor-led classes even on the calendar right now. So these are the only options for you to register for. You'll see we have plenty of spaces left, with the one exception of this class, creating a respectful workplace. We've got a wait list for that. The reason why the numbers are so much lower, normally we can put about 32 people in our training classes. Here we're doing about 16 because virtual is totally different. Our facilitators have to interact with all of you and put you into small rooms, and with more than 16, it just feels a little too heavy, a little too cumbersome. So 16. So go ahead and put your name on these, register a wait list, do whatever you would normally do during this time. So that's it. That's pretty simple how you register for our courses. All right, let's go to number 2. Let's talk about the expectations. And this is the expectations you need to have as you start coming to one of our virtual instructor-led courses. So let's go ahead and set some of these up. There's Greg, one of our trainers right there, getting ready to lead a session. A couple quick things. These are not webinars. These are not webinars. So as you think about any e-learning you've taken in the past, maybe you're thinking you've sat and watched a 60-minute webinar where someone talks and clicks slides. Maybe you've been to an e-learning session where you have to click the bottom and advance and take quizzes. These are what we call VILT. They are virtual instructor-led training. So they are live. They are with our trainers. They are exactly like you would expect by coming to the Spark Learning Center, with one small difference: you're doing it in front of your computer instead of in the Spark Learning Center. So they will be interactive. You will have to have a camera. We'll talk more about that in a second. You will have to have a microphone. We'll talk more about that. So this is not just a sit and listen type of training. If you're going to, go through these and get credit for the certificate programs here at the Personnel Board, they're going to be just like you would expect when you came. All of our trainers, Greg, Michael, Kim, Isla's even going to get involved perhaps in some of these. They'll be facilitating the training class, and there'll also be a second person behind the scenes called a producer. And the producer is going to be answering questions and helping you with technical issues and things like that, so the facilitator can focus on the actual content and the engagement. You will still have workbooks. They'll look a lot different. They might only be a couple pages long. They might be more of a job aid where it's already filled out and you can just take it with you, but there will be things that you can follow along with and take notes. There will be group activities and discussions, just like we do in our instructor-led courses here at the Spark. And these will only be 2 hours long. These will not be 3.5 like we normally have, but you can expect full engagement for the entire 2 hours. There'll be a short, maybe 5 to 10 minute break for you to run to the restroom or get a snack wherever you're going, but we'll come right back in and be fully engaged. Here's what we recommend. Get into these classes at least 10 minutes early. They were all going to be right now from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. This is not a thing where you want to log onto your computer at 9 a.m. and start trying to get in. By 8:50 or 8:51 maybe, you want to log in, start testing your system. The facilitators will be there 15 minutes ahead of time, so we can do social chat, we can do talking, we can say, oh, I can't hear you, but I can see you, and our producers can help you through that, but we're going to start right on time. If you arrive after 9:01, our producers are not going to let you into the class. So we'll give a 1 minute grace period. In our in-person, we give about a 10 to 12 minute grace period. Well, we just can't do that because we're starting and getting all the content and moving fast. So that's why you need to assume about 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time you log in, because you won't be allowed into the session 1 minute past our start time. We give a little bit of grace. That's all we can give at that time. So you're registered. You know what your expectations are. Let's talk about the location. Let's talk about where you plan on taking this. So some of you may be in a workplace, perhaps cubicle world, perhaps an administrative office in City Hall or something like that. Some of you may be public safety, where you're in a fire department or a police department where everybody's all around, and where do you find a quiet place to actually take this training course? Some of you may be working from home. Maybe you're working remotely, so you have your own desk or your own laptop or your own space where you can take this. Location is key. Location is key. So a couple things about the location. If you're going to work, if you're going to a city hall or a police department or an administrative building or something like that, a couple recommendations for you. Number one, not all of us have our own offices. In fact, very few of us do. Can you find somewhere that has a door? Somewhere, maybe a conference room or somebody's office where you can attend this class. Maybe just a divider of some kind. If you're in a big public area like a fire station or like a big group area, can they assign a desk? If you're working in public works, can there be a desk assigned to the side where people are allowed to take the training courses, where kind of the noise is kind of out of there? Maybe a small conference room that nobody's using. You want to minimize your distractions as what you're trying to do. If you're at home, it's the exact same thing, except there might even be more distractions than there are right now. You've got your pets that are going to be barking in the background. Oh, the dog has to go out. I've got to leave the class. Excuse me, sorry about that. Maybe your kids are coming up asking you, when is lunch? Where are we going today? Deliveries, people are knocking on your door. Your cell phone is ringing. So you need to create a space, whether you put signs on the door, talk to your kids, put the dog in the cage or in a different room for a while, so you can be totally invested in this particular type of training. All the background noises and doorbells and people getting up will not make for a very engaging learning experience. All right, Pete, I'm registered. I know what the expectations are. I know where I'm going to take it. What equipment do I need? Let's go through some of the equipment with you. Now, as you see in this picture here, this is a major television studio. I don't want you all freaking out. You don't need a whole bunch of stuff, but this is a new way of doing this. And so you have to have the basic equipment to actually take these virtual instructor-led training courses. So number one, you got to have a computer. Well, Pete, what kind? What kind? You can have a desktop or you can have a laptop. But you can't have a smartphone. You may think, well, I'll just travel in my car, or travel on the fire truck, or travel in my company issued vehicle and just take the class on here. It's impossible to do because there's going to be breakout sessions. You're going to want to be taking notes. Perhaps you're driving. Assume that this is just like a class at the Spark Learning Center. And so you have to be invested in doing all the other work that comes with it. So unfortunately, you cannot take it on a smartphone. You have to attend on a desktop or a laptop of some kind. You have to have internet access. So you have to make sure, because we're going through Zoom, so that there's a difference between at work and at home on how you get your internet access. So if you're at work, you'd probably be hardwired. So you might have a hard Ethernet cable coming into your desk or something like that, which will be fantastic. But if you're at home, you might be working off of your Wi-Fi. So we'll talk about that in just a second, but you have to have internet access to access zoom.us so we can lead the sessions. You do have to have a video camera. And I know this is going to be one of those things that may set some people that say, well, I don't have one, so I can't take the training. And we apologize for that. We will get back to instructor-led training when we can, but we have to be able to see you. That's just part of it. So I'm on a laptop right now, and a lot of laptops have cameras already installed in them. You may have a desktop at your work that doesn't have a camera on it. So there's all types of these little cameras you can get on Amazon or on, how do I get that in there? There we go. On Logitech. This is an older eyeball model. This is kind of the newer models. And you're saying, well, how do I get that? Well, if you're taking it at work, I would recommend talking to your IT department or talking to your supervisor. There might be some cameras on some people's computers that they're not using, or they can let you borrow. Most of them are just plug and play that kind of go in there. So you do have to have a video camera of some kind. You can also buy them on Amazon in case you need them for your home computer. Like I said, some of them are built in. There's also peripherals. These are called the peripherals. And one more thing, placement is important. Placement of the camera is important. And we'll coach you through this, but nobody wants to see you in a training class like this. Hey, everybody, glad to have you. Or, even worse, it's like this. So make sure that I've got this laptop on a couple boxes. There's nothing fancy. You put some boxes underneath it. You want to get the camera right at eye level because we're going to be talking to each other for 2 hours. Let's make sure we can see each other very well. Let's talk about audio. Audio's got to go out so people can hear what you have to say, and then audio has to come in so you can hear what people have to say. So you're going to need a microphone. Now, most laptops and desktops, some of them will have a microphone embedded in them. If not, there's a telephone option. So you can have your camera, and then you can also have a telephone where you dial in a number and talk that way. So that's possible as well. For the sound going out. For the sound coming in, you want to have speakers, perhaps headphones that you can do that. But keep in mind, if you've got computer speakers that are up and then you're speaking through this, we're going to get feedback because people are going to be talking during the class and it's going to go out through your microphone and go, Wah. So, if you have something like this, this way it's all taken care of. I've got, had it on backwards. Got it on this way. So I've got my earphones. I've got this. These can be bought used. These just have USBs on the end of them, so they just plug into your USB port. You can do that. I recently bought a pair of wireless ones. These are $30. They don't cost a lot. So these are like wireless earbuds where they just Bluetooth into your laptop and put these in like this, and they have both. You can listen and talk through this. If you've got AirPods or things like that, those might work. You can try a lot of different things, or you could just, use the speakers and use your mic, but you have to make sure you have both. And we'll talk more about that. You need to know how to use the settings, the audio settings on your computer to help choose which camera and which audio, because there's all these defaults on your computers. Make sure you know where the audio settings are as well. And a great website, I'll talk about this later. It's called zoom.us. Zoom.us/test. When you're ready and have your equipment hooked up, you go to this site and you can test your audio and test your video and do all these things. It's going to be really easy for you to make sure. So before you come to your first personnel board class, you're ready to go. So make sure you've got all the equipment that you need. All right, let's talk about number 5, access to the Zoom platform. And we talked a little bit about this earlier, but let's talk about if you're at work. We're going to put the onus on you. Individual cities, the county, the health department have different rules and regulations about what outside sites they will let you visit on the website. Now, Zoom has become very popular, so Zoom.us should be able to get on there, but we can't speak for each IT department. They may have everything blocked. So a couple days or a week before your training class, you're going to want to test Zoom.us. If the big nasty bar comes up that says you're not authorized, talk with your supervisor. See if you can talk to someone in your IT department for just your IP address. Can they get Zoom.us removed? And there's a big safety feature here. We want to make sure that no bad things come into your system in your agency. So it's internet safety and security is very important. Zoom is so popular and is being used, you shouldn't have too much of a problem, but check with your IT department and your supervisor. And again, if you're at work, try to use something that's hardwired as opposed to Wi-Fi. It just makes the signals go just that much better. Now, if you're doing it from home, you're probably not blocked. You wouldn't block yourself. So you can definitely get to Zoom.us, but something very important, if you're taking a training class with us from 9 to 11 and it's summertime and kids are home and all of that, someone's on the Netflix watching a movie at 9:30. Downstairs, someone's on the PS4 or the Xbox and they're using the Wi-Fi to talk to their friends on the headsets. The Alexa is going, streaming music for somebody else. Someone else is watching YouTube and all of a sudden you're like, I got a really poor signal. Your bandwidth may be an issue. So you may want to talk with your family members or friends at home and say, hey, from 9 to 11, no one is on the Wi-Fi. I'm in a training class. I need full bandwidth because again, that can affect what happens. And I would shut down all the other programs on your computer. Don't keep your email up and your PowerPoint up and your Amazon up and all that. Shut everything down on your computer with only the Zoom up. That'll allow all of the videos because we're going to have 16 people on there, 16 people talking, 16 different streams coming in. You want to make sure you can see everything as good as you possibly can. Here's the neat thing to think about. You don't even have to have a Zoom account. You don't have to have a Zoom account at all. In fact, if you just log into Zoom.us and click here where it says join a meeting, that's all you have to do. So you click join meeting, your facilitators, our team will send you out a number to go into this screen. You put it in and you join. That's great. That's how you come to our training classes. Now you have to make sure you have that number from us and you only get that number if you register through Merit Matters. We'll send that out to you. That's how easy it is. Now for some of you who think, well, I want to have my own account, you can do that. If you want to create a Zoom account, some of you may already have a Zoom account, but if not, go ahead and sign up. They'll take your email address, use your work or your home email address. You can add your picture, you can do some settings, and every time you log in, then it'll be a little bit easier because you've got your own account set up. So it's not mandatory, it's optional, but some of you may want to make a Zoom account, and so you can do that as well. All right, so we're all ready to go. We registered, we know what's expected. I found my location, my equipment is working, I'm tested, I know I can get onto Zoom. What do I need to know about the platform itself during this particular personnel board virtual instructor-led training? Let's talk about a few things. Let's kind of roll through this. Number one, like I said, there's 2 ways to come into the course. So the one we just talked about, you click on join a meeting, you type in the actual thing. The other way you'll get into the course is you will get an email from us that says, click on this link or click on this meeting ID or whatever it may be. So you'll get an email as well. So 2 ways to get in. You either have to have the email or know what the ID number is, and you get that by registering. Again, turn off your phones so that your smoking hot wife does not call you during your training session. Okay, keep on going. So once you're in, you will get this warning. We call it a waiting room. It's not really a warning. It's a waiting room. Imagine if you came into the Spark Learning Center here in the 2121 building, and you came into our big lobby area where we've got, couches and chairs, and the facilitator says, hey, I'm getting the room set up. I'll call you down in a few minutes. That's what this is. It's just a waiting room so that we can verify that people who are coming in have registered. If you see a screen that looks like this, it may say Greg's training room or Kim's training room or personnel board training room. You've done it right. So I wanted to share this with you so you don't freak out the first time you come and go, I logged in, I signed in, but I'm not seeing anything. This is why you're in what's called the waiting room. Now your facilitator will see this. This is the facilitator screen. So, you know, I'll see, hey, Greg Bone has entered the waiting room and who's waiting. And that's when my producers can go through and start admitting people. Now, again, if you come in at 9:02, that waiting screen will be up, but you'll never be admitted. Someone might send you a message that says, sorry, it's 9:02, you cannot come in. But anytime before then, we'll go ahead and let you in to the course. So then once you're in, let's talk about the very bottom. Don't look at my goofy face. Look at the very bottom of the screen. Here's some of the, what do you call them, buttons, for lack of a better word, that you'll want to use during the personnel board training course. Let's take a look. This one down here is mute. So if you just put your cursor over the mute, it'll mute your microphone. If you're coughing, or maybe the facilitator will mute you so all 16 people aren't talking at once. But there's also a small little arrow there. Let me get my annotate button up here again. All right, let me get my spotlight. And see right here, that little up arrow. If you go ahead and click on that, what you'll do is it'll let me go ahead and stop annotating. It'll open this up. And again, this is the audio part. So you can check your microphone, you can check your speakers, you can check the settings and do all that stuff you need to do. Same thing holds true with video. If you want to turn off your camera for just a moment, if you have to talk to a child real quick or whatever, you can do that. Again, we don't recommend turning your camera off for more than a few seconds because the producer and facilitator will say, hey, where'd you go? What's going on? But if you have to cough, or you want to get up and readjust your clothes and sit back down, you just click stop video, and then you click it again to put the video back on. In addition, once you click on the little arrow down there next to stop settings, what you'll get is this whole page. So again, do I want to touch up my appearance? Do I want to go widescreen? There's all kinds of neat things you can do here by just clicking that little button. The participants tab will be up. This is a great way for you to actually interact in the course. What you want to do is open this button. You may want to keep this box up throughout the course because you can see who's there. You can maybe chat with each other. You can click on people. You can see what they're doing. I may ask you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. There'll be all types of little icons on your screen for participants. So that's a neat thing you can do as well. The chat box we're going to use a lot. The facilitators are going to say things like, okay, go into the chat box and give me your answer to this question. Go into the chat box and let me know what your thoughts are on this. And we'll be monitoring that. And if people aren't chatting, again, we'll get with you and say, hey, you didn't put your thoughts in there. So you can chat in there and we'll keep it professional and put all kinds of great things in there. A couple things you will not see or will not be using during this training class. You may not even have this option, but it says share screen. The facilitators are probably not going to ask you to share your screen. We might not, but I don't think so. Don't worry if you see that on your screen. Don't worry about that. There's also a record button at the bottom. You won't be recording any of this. We're not going to be recording. We may record this for internal training purposes, but we're not going to record them and put them on a website or something like that and say, whoever wants to watch this class can watch this class and get credit. The only way you get credit is by attending the live version. So these aren't going to be recorded and put online for your friends to watch at a later date. It's got to be a live experience, just like we have at the Spark Learning Center. So you won't be using that. The reactions button, you'll figure out what that is when you log in. That's kind of fun. And then that's how you leave the meeting. And when you click that, be careful. That means you're done. You're out. And then you may not be allowed back in. So be careful about clicking the leave meeting. This is the big takeaway for today, zoom.us test. Once you're all ready, make sure you go to that website and you use that. All right. Last thing, and I'm sorry this took so long, but it's good to share all this information with you. Let's talk about other resources. Pete, I want to learn more about Zoom and make sure I'm doing this right. If you go to zoom.us in the upper right, there's a tab that says support. Support. Just click on that. There are a ton of videos, a ton of handouts, a ton of things you can use to learn more about Zoom. Also, if you're a YouTube fan, YouTube has a bunch of videos. Just put in Zoom how to join a meeting or Zoom how to use the chat feature. And a bunch of people other than ourselves have made videos on that. And the personnel board's going to create a job aid. It'll be a .pdf file, which just means you can't edit it. And we're putting that together now, so we'll have that available for you as well. So that's everything. That's how we're going to lead our courses. That's how you'll be attending them. That's how we use Zoom. And we think it's going to be great. We're going to start in July, and I can't wait for you to join us. So if you have gone through all those steps and you're ready to attend, register, sign up, and we can't wait to see you in Personnel Board virtual instructor-led training sometime really soon. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.